Hi everyone, my name's Francesca and I work as a storyboard artist for Blue Zoo. I've been in the industry for about 9 years and I've worked on projects such as Number Blocks, Go Jetters and most recently The Adventures of Paddington Bear. I actually consider myself quite lucky because I always said I wanted to be in animation from a very young age. When I was at school, my favourite subject was definitely art. And for my A-levels, I even tried to make an animated project, but it went very wrong, actually. It didn't really work at all. But luckily, it didn't put me off. I went on to study animation at uni, and then I studied further, focusing more on story, until eventually I got a job as a storyboard artist. And here I am today. Hopefully I can part some of this knowledge to you guys and help you take your first steps into becoming a storyboarder or working in the animation industry. So I guess the main question is exactly what is storyboarding? So a storyboarder will often start with getting a script, and it's all about figuring out exactly how this is going to look, because really a storyboard is the blueprints for what everyone else in the studio is going to be doing. So we need to figure out if something will work or not long before the animators start to animate. The main reason for that is animation is very expensive, so it's a lot easier to test things at storyboarding. And in a weird way, that's why I find storyboarding so exciting, because it's really raw ideas and you're sort of turning things over and figuring things out. So for me, it's the most exciting part, because you just never know what exactly is going to work and what's going to look best. It's really raw ideas. So often we'll get the script at first and we'll have a read through it and we start to try and think, okay, how's this going to look? Will it work? Is it going to cut together? Is it going to tell the story properly? And we'll chat through things, we'll come up with ideas, and eventually, hopefully, we'll sort of come up with an idea of, yeah, I think this is how it might look. So the three main parts to storyboarding, I'd always say, are performance, cinematography, and layout. So performance, hopefully that's quite easy to understand, is how a character acts. You know, in the way, how is their emotion going to affect the way they move? If they're really sad, they might sort of mope about. If they're really happy, they might have a bit of a spring in their step. So facial expressions obviously are very important for performance. So hopefully it's all about telling the audience exactly how that character feels. The second one is cinematography. So this is kind of an interesting one because this is how we want the audience to see things. So we control what the audience sees, and not only what they see, but how they see it. So using different camera angles can really give can really emphasize a performance or an emotion. So most simply, you know, if a character is in a very powerful position, if we use a camera looking up to them, even the audience is literally looking up to them. And the opposite of that is if you have a character who's feeling very weak and very, you know, very small, we might have the camera looking down to them. So again, literally, the audience is looking down at that character. So they are looking very small to the audience as well. If we have an emotional shot, we might get very close to the character so we can see a lot of emotion in their face. So it's all about thinking about what's going to give the most information. And after cinematography is layout. So this is more the logistics of storyboarding. So often we'll make maps to figure out exactly where people are going to get to. So it's often a case of if you need a character for a later scene to end up near the lake, but at the beginning they're near the tree, what stages do we have to take to get them near the lake for that later scene? If they have a prop, where did they get that prop from? If they put the prop down, does it stay there? Did they get it from another character? So layout is all about really the logistics, the stage directing to make sure everyone ends up in the correct place for the right shots. So the actual storyboard process, I would say, can also be broken up into 3 stages. So the thumbnail stage, this is like really, really rough shorthand, testing raw ideas. We'll normally make notes on the script. We'll draw it super quick, super rough. It's all about just getting it out of your head. It's not necessarily about making neat drawings, just getting it out your head, just the raw ideas. And once you think you've got something there, I guess it's a little bit like if you wake up in the middle of the night and you've got a great idea, you might just quickly write 1 sentence. But then obviously you have to come back and you have to elaborate. We have to make sure that definitely works. So that's what the cleanup or the actual storyboarding stage is for. So once we've got the thumbnails and we think we've got our ideas down, we need to neaten them, not only to make sure they work. In 3D, we'll start testing them with some of the environments to make sure the layout will work. But this is also about making sure other people can read your storyboard, because often in thumbnail, it'll be so rough. Again, it's just getting it out of your head. And then once you've made a neater storyboard where you've sort of really tested the cinematography, you've made sure the acting is clear, the layout definitely works, it goes into Animatic. So Animatic is more of the editor stage, and this is where they take each individual panel from the storyboard and they cut it together as if it's going to be the full film or the full episode. And they work out all the timing, and they create like a base for us to start adding the animation to. But also in Animatic, we can start sort of picking apart where things might have gone wrong, where you can't really see in just a board. So yeah, I guess the main property of a board is to figure out what works and what goes wrong, because it's the easiest stage to fix things. So really, there's nothing bad about going wrong with a board. It just means, great, we've caught that before animation. So yeah, this is the exercise I'm going to get you guys to have a go at. So it's literally just a character enters shot, they pick something up, and then they leave the shot. So hopefully you guys can see this. I'm not in the way. So if you want to have a go at copying this, go for it. One of the main reasons I start with this is because it gives a good example of exactly how many panels we do need to give information to the editor and then to the animators. So each of these panels contains its own piece of information. So the first panel tells us we start with a shot with no one in. We're just looking at the object. The second panel tells us a character then comes into the shot. The third panel is telling us they bend to get the item. The fourth panel tells them they stand back up. The fifth panel tells us they leave the shot. And the final panel tells us we just end on a shot of the environment, now with the object gone. So if you guys want to take a moment, feel free to pause the video. If you want to have a go at just quickly drawing this out. It's literally just a character entering into the shot, picking up an item and leaving the shot. We're not even going to move the camera at the moment. We're just going to keep it locked. All I want to see is just a very simple movement of someone coming in and getting something and leaving. Brilliant. Right, we're going to build on this now. So using the exact same template of someone coming in, picking something up and leaving, we're going to see if we can board it as maybe a comedy or maybe a romance or an action or a horror. So each of these will affect the cinematography, they'll affect the acting. Have a think about what you want that object to be. But right now I'm going to show you an example of my own thinking and my own take on the thumbnails. Hi everyone, excuse the setup. I've had to go a bit retro. So hopefully you guys should have access to these quite nice sheets. So these are the storyboard sheets we're using at the moment. They're just very simple, but we're actually not going to use them yet because we're going to do some thumbnails. So I'm just going to put these to the one side. I'm going to use, all you need is some pencils, an eraser, and probably a pencil sharpener. Now, going back to the exercise we were talking about someone coming in, picking something up and leaving the shot. I think I'm going to go with horror. So I've been having to think about how I might do this. And actually, you know what? I'm tempted to mix horror and comedy because they are my two favorite sort of themes. So let's have a think. Let's have someone. So you see I'm drawing incredibly rough here. I don't know. We'll make it a hill. It's a little bit more dramatic. We'll have someone come up a hill and here's the item. Oh, do you know what? I'm going to make it a head. It's a decapitated head. And for a little bit of, let's have like a nice big old tree behind him on top. And maybe we'll add some lightning as this guy's walking up the hill. So I don't need to draw too many panels because this is more like a note to self. And And let's see, what's the most dramatic way of revealing something is a head? Okay, so let's have the body's point of view. So the head will still be here. I know, so we don't see it at first. We don't quite know what it is. And one thing I hope you might have noticed is, so I've drawn a grid in the background so we know we're looking down. And I've also kept the head slightly to the left of shot in the same way here. The head is to the left. So we're trying to keep the body always on the right and the head always on the left. So this will just help the audience not get lost. So let's see, what should we do? Oh, I know, we'll have the foot come in and it rotates the head. So then when the head moves, sort of definitely a decapitated head. The foot goes out again. And then obviously it wakes up and goes, ah. And we should probably have a reaction shot of the body. So I'm going to draw a grid like this, so that sort of shows we're looking up. And then a little bit of angle on the body. And again, I'm keeping the body slightly to the right. So we've got one character to the left and one character to the right, even though I know technically these are the same parts of one character. He's going to go, ah. Except he doesn't have a head, so that's actually quite hard to do. A headless body recoiling in shock. Then we should probably, because here we have some quite dramatic angles in these three, and that's the thing. This is just me thinking out loud, by the way. This might change when I get to board it. Let's go to quite a flat shot, because we've sort of gone into comedy now. So we just have a body like, and a head here, sort of also screaming. And there's the tree, and we might have a fork of lightning come between them. I'm not quite sure yet. Let's have a think. And we should go back to the head. So just be like, where have you been? Go back to the body. And he's like, I don't know. It's really hard to find things without a head. So maybe we should have him bend over to pick it up. And he leans back in. And puts the head on his shoulders. Now what shall we have happen? I suppose you've got to leave without the head. He can just walk off and the head can fall off and roll out. How about that? Let's have a think. How should we do this? Brilliant. Again, I'm not giving this character much detail. It's literally just drawing as fast as I can. I think if it came to character design, we'd probably make him more of a zombie for obvious reasons. But at the moment, this is literally just me thinking out loud, as rough as I can on a page. Oh, you know what? I think I want a sellotape gag. So you got the sellotape. Let's have the head fall off. And we'll go back to our wide originally. And this time we've got the body up here. And we'll just see the head bounce down. And then let's have, that's terrible. And we'll have the body run after it. So this is my incredibly rough plan. Looks terrible, doesn't it? But this is literally me just thinking out loud on the page. So we might make some amendments to this. We could reboard bits if we wanted to. The other point of this is that we don't feel attached to it. So if a director or someone sits with you and they just go, oh, I don't really get that, it's really easy just to suddenly scribble out a whole section and be like, oh, that's all right, I've got another idea. We can do it this way. We can do it that way. So yeah, that's kind of the main point of thumbnailing. So after you've got your basic blueprint, you come to making some much neater boards. So I'm going to be neatening them up. We might press fast forward on this section, but you're welcome to watch. Let's see what I come up with. So this is the point where I'm going to be adding like a few more panels. So if you stay with me for this bit for now. So let's take this first shot, for example. So we've got a hill. Again, it doesn't have to be too neat, this. It's all about communication. So I'm going to draw a very rough tree, just so we know where we are. I'm going to be very clear where the item is. And you know what, just like our exercise, I'm not going to draw our main character in yet. So here's shot 2. This tree's going to look different in every single panel. It's one of the bonuses of when you're boarding digitally. You don't have to redraw the backgrounds in. So here's our item, and then we're going to start to see this shadowy figure walking up this hill. We sort of don't want to make it too obvious that he's not got a head. So I imagine this whole thing would actually be in shadow. So it's probably sort of in the night. Maybe the moon's up here. These are sort of details you can start to think about when you move further into boarding, or maybe you've made a note on here. So I mean, I made a note of lightning. So maybe as this, we'll have a big crack of lightning in this panel. Maybe it hits the tree. So we're just going really rough at the moment. And you can draw some arrows to show where people are moving in. We'll do one more of him. He's got a little bit closer. I keep drawing the head first, forgetting he's a headless body. He's got bigger as well. Never mind. And then for this section here, we can start adding a lot more detail. So the sound would probably have some creepy music. Lightning strike. The action, there's not really any action here. A shadowy figure enters shot. Walks over to item. We don't know what it is yet. So this is also what we would call a wide shot. So I might just add the word WS for wide shot. Also, it's called an establishing shot sometimes when you first start. And then we're going to cut. Oh, no. So hopefully we don't really know what this is yet. Shadow. The action is cut to high angle, close up of object. I know, let's have, keep that shot as is. And what we're going to do is we're going to have the silhouette of the person in a flash of lightning. So how about that? Oh, a crossbow lightning. And obviously this is where the foot comes in. Back at our thumbs. So we're here, we're only on thumb number 2, but we've done almost a whole page of boarding. So do you see what I mean when we add a lot more information? So foot comes in and it's sort of rolls the head. yes, we better make sure we number everything. So this is number 1. So we match that quite well. Can't do very good foot acting. I'll give this guy pointed ears. I'm going to give him some pointy ears. That way, he's a bit monstrous. This is the foot moving back. It's not very easy to tell. Okay, okay, so foot. The head screams. Recoils. Sorry, just make sure I'm in shot. And now this is where we're doing our reverse shots. So. A bit of acting in, a bit of body acting, because he hasn't got a head. Cut to low angle, mid shot, body, getting shocked. Continue. And now we go to the wide. Let's have another lightning crash. And I think maybe in this shot we should have them stop screaming. They sort of screamed at each other. The head has at least. Oh, sorry, I've got the sizes a bit wrong. And we go back to this shot. I have him say, oh, what would be a funny line? Normally we'd have the script written for us already. Thought you were someone else. Another page. See, we've already got, how many have we got? 12 panels. However many we had here. Page 3. It says, oh, sorry, I thought you were someone else. Let's get a bit more acting in. We'll have him do a shrug. So let's show the shoulders nice and high. It's probably one of the definite, clear sort of emotions we can make a headless body do. Is a nice shrug. It's supposed to be the palms of his hands. He's going, And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut that wide actually. Yeah, so what have we got in the thumbs? In the thumbs I went back to wide to show him picking them up, but then we cut back to this shot. I'm not entirely sure what's going to work best, to be honest, because obviously this all works very nicely in a mid shot, and then we go wide here. So I'm going to actually add another shot of the head talking. Looking a bit fed up, probably saying, oh, can you just get on with it? Come on. So this is a shot that might be cut when we get to Animatic, you see. So I think I will go to that wide. It's probably a bit too wide, actually. Definitely too wide. Get my proper rubber out. It's hard to figure out the framing for a headless character because you always want to make sure the heads are in shot. But he hasn't got one. Imagine this head is complaining as he's being picked up. Let's see if we can add a gag a bit. So I'm going to actually have him put it on here, but it's facing the wrong way. So obviously, because he's picked it up by the cheeks, I'm just going to make a little note here. The head is facing that way. I think I've added as an extra gag. So, page 4, we're going to cut in. We're going to cut in on this, sort of to here, this panel. That's supposed to be his hair. Now you notice that, like before, we had high angles and low angles. In this, we're just going for quite a flat angle. And the reason for this is it's kind of more of a comedy moment. So we want the cinematography to really be clear about the gag more than anything. So he's put his head on backwards. Obviously, we just need a moment. Let's see. Oh, the logistics of spinning your own head round. So let's have a panel of him holding his head. Backwards first. So again, these are still very rough storyboards, to be honest. No, this is quite a complex movement. Just trying to think of how I might spin my own head around. So that would be a little finger. And that's his hand around the back. Oh, that was a bit complicated to figure out. Turns his head right way round. Hopefully when you guys do this, you'll be writing much neater than me. I don't think we need the sellotape joke. I think that might make things a bit confusing. Let's just have him look very triumphant. And I'm going to stay in the same shot, keep the body in the same position, and have his head fall off again. I know in this I talked about having a gag with sellotape. but I think this is much clearer, to be honest. Also, we've got the additional gag of him putting his head on the wrong way first. So hopefully this is kind of what boards are about. Just about emphasizing, seeing what really works, and making it the best you can. So let's have a shot with this body. Still stood very proudly. Sorry, I'm drawing very, very rough here. And then, let's see, that's page 4. And then let's go all the way back to the beginning. I'm going to reference our original shot. So instead, we've got a hill, we've got the moon, we've got a tree. So now we've got the body stood. And the head rolling back down. So we haven't quite got someone coming in and picking up an object and walking off with it. But he did pick it up. Let's try some exclamation marks. Maybe a crack of lightning. What page are we on? We're on page 5. Stop my page from slipping everywhere. And then obviously we're going to end it. Pretty much on the same shot we started with. Except now there's nothing there. I'm just going to add one more shot to say should be a big crack of lightning. So that's a very bad tree. The end. Just add a bit more information here. So there we have a very rough storyboard, which started out as thumbnails and then became 5 pages. So here we have a character walking up a spooky slope to this item. We then reveal it's a head. When he rotates the head, it screams at him, but it's all right, it was a headless body anyway. They know each other. They stop screaming. Is it? Oh, I thought you were someone else. So this is where the cinematography kind of changes from sort of more quite dramatic, maybe horror cinematography, to more of a comedic. We want to show the gags. Oh, I got my pages in the wrong order. Then we have the best acting a headless body can do. Just get on with it. He puts it on. We cut in. You've got it the wrong way around. He rotates it. It immediately falls off again. He has to run down the hill after it. And there you go. I hope that's really helped you guys. Hi everyone. So that was me very quickly trying to board out a rough idea. So I've got all my panels here. I've actually had a little bit of chance to neaten them a bit. I've given them a scan in and we can have a look through. So here we have the thumbnails that I started with, that very, very roughly just getting my ideas out onto the page. Hopefully this will work. Yes. So here's the first page. You can see I neatened it just a little bit. I added a bit more effects with some lightning. We've got some nice, shadows cast to make it really spooky. I really wanted to push the sort of horror theme a little bit there. The shadow comes in over the head, it rolls over, and then they sort of both scream at each other and then realize they know each other. So I tried to bring out the comedy a little bit more by adding a panel where they're screaming, there's a lightning strike, and then it's all calm. So if you did want to go a bit more of a comedy route, just make sure you have enough panels to ensure that a gag hits. It's the same as if you're telling a joke. You have to make sure you have all parts of the setup before you give away the punchline. So yeah, this is the board I finished with. It's about 5 pages, I think. And I decided not to go with the, I know I was muttering about like a sellotape gag in the thumbnails. When I came to boarding, I found it was much easier just to keep like a nice simple head falling back, which is what I've gone for. And then here we have another lightning strike at the end. So it does switch to sort of quite comedy. The cinematography isn't too complicated. It's mostly all shot from this side. And hopefully something you might have noticed, I know I mentioned when I was doing some of the boarding, is that I've kept the head sort of to one side of the screen at all times. I've kept the body to the other side of the screen at all times. So it's very clear which direction they're going in. It's very clear which direction the head has fallen out into. And this is sort of called crossing, not crossing the line. So it's a cinematography trick where we kind of always try to keep things going in the same direction by keeping the camera on one side of the action. Yeah, so that's all right. That's not a bad board I seem to have come out with. I might neaten it, I might take it further, but now guys, it's all up to you. So as I mentioned, there's lots of different ways you can board this. A man or a character enters, they pick up an item and they leave. So it doesn't have to be horror. As I mentioned, it can be romantic, it can be action. If you want some help with some action shots, just have a go at watching like your favorite film. I'm sure there's like a Marvel film where they're all fighting over the Tesseract, where characters are coming in, getting an item, leaving the shot. Have a go at just matching some of the shots and something like that if you're quite interested in action. Again, you can go the same route as me, horror, or maybe mix it with some comedy. Or if you like, you can mix up a few themes. You can go romance action. That might be quite an interesting one. But it's all up to you guys. It's quite free. It's quite open. Have fun with it, most importantly. And I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. So that's all from me. Thank you so much for doing this. I hope this helps. And all the best.